All right, guys, I've been out here sanding this morning, and I started out with 40, 60, 80, 100, and was at 120. And I thought I had some 160 or 180 grit, and I don't. And I went to the store, and they didn't have any either. So I sanded with 120 twice, really, really good. And then I sanded with 220 twice. Actually, what I did is I was using two sanders at the same time. I've got two of these Milwaukee sanders, and I had one in each hand, and I was just doing circles with both of them until I got them all the way across, and then I worked my way all the way back across, and then back across. And I was using a carpenter's pencil to make sure I got everything really, really good in between every coat. And the reason I did that was just to make sure I got as many of the swirls out as I could, and to try to get rid of some of my little humps and lines and just little scratches and stuff from moving this around. And I got up into my attic and got this foam down, so hopefully I won't scratch it anymore. And I've got a couple of moving blankets so I can move stuff around and not have to worry about scratching my wood. And I've never done this before, but I got this Total Boat epoxy and mixed it together, and I used a set of scales here and just mixed up a small amount. I forgot to turn that off too. And mixed that up a small amount. And then I've got this dye, which is black, and used some solo cups. I was watching a couple guys, and what they said made sense. When you mix it up in a cup and you get it all mixed up, take it out of that cup and put it in another cup. And that way, if there's any that didn't get mixed up, it's left in your first cup. And I threw that cup away so I wouldn't accidentally get into it. And then I mixed it up in another cup, and then I added my dye to it last and got started on it. And I either did a great job or I've just totally screwed this up, and I'm gonna be sanding like a dog to get it out. This thing had 1,000 wormholes in it, and I was just using my stir stick to put it on there. And I just started with one board, and I just went all the way across it, filling every little nook and cranny and wormhole, and just went all the way across it. And I know I've got a lot of sanding to do to get this off of here, but I've got plenty of sanding paper. So I thought I would do this today and get this all started so it can be drying. And I've got a few spots like right here where it ran down in the crack. And they said this stuff, you don't want to use it very thick. So I didn't force it because I want it to dry really good and hard. And it's like right there's a couple of little spots where it's gonna overfill. But when I do it again, I may try to take one of my stir sticks and break it off to more of a point where I'm not carrying so much. You can see how the wormholes, how it kind of ran down in some of them. So I know I'm gonna be going over it again, maybe twice more, I don't know. But at least this will seal them up. And you can, well, just like that one right there, you can see how it kind of went down in the hole. I've never, ever done this before. I've never used any kind of epoxy. Well, I take that back. In the 6th or 7th grade, we made something using epoxy. But that's the only time I've ever used epoxy, other than epoxy paint like you put on a garage floor. That's the only other time I've ever used any kind of epoxy. And, but I sanded out here for hours and hours this morning, trying to get this all slicked up and ready to go. And like I said, I know I'm going to have to go over it again. And when I do go over it, I'm just going to take one of these sticks and break it off where it has more of a small point on it where I can kind of control it a little bit. It was really hard to control using the corner, but you can see how that one just kind of oozed down in there. But like I said, now it's sealed. And then this one right here is the same way. I've never done this before. I've watched a bunch of Total Boat videos and Blacktail Studios and a whole bunch of other guys on YouTube to kind of see how they did it, what they did, why they did it the way they did. And they give you some really good hints, like stirring it up in one until you get it stirred up and then putting it in another. I would have never thought of that. And the one guy said, you know, using a small amount, like I'm mixing up now, if you mix it up and you get off a little bit by using these measuring cups, you know, just a little bit can be 10 or 20% wrong. So he said, use a set of scales and use metric. That way it can be more precise, which I poured just a little over 9 And then of course it went to 18, and I can't remember the exact numbers now. But anyways, I used these scales, which I already had, so I didn't have to buy them or anything, and did it like that. And it worked really good. So I'm gonna let this dry for 24 hours and come back out here and see if I'm gonna be sanding starting with 40 grit again, or if I'm gonna be sanding, you know, with 120. I don't know. I may have just really caused myself a lot of work, or I may have done a good job. I don't know. I won't know until I start sanding, because like I said, I've never done this before, but I sanded and sanded and sanded, and then I blew it all off, got it as clean as I could, and then I used a wet towel and went over everything and let it dry for an hour. And then I come back out, and this is just, I just got through doing this, and we will see what I've got. Like I said, I either made a big mess or I've done a good job, one of the two. We'll find out. I know I probably could have been a little bit neater with it, but we'll see. Well, I sure appreciate you guys checking in with me, and you have a good day, and thanks again.